Simmons signed a new deal with Spotify. I don't know if it was another $250 million because I cannot find the fucking numbers to save my life. But he signed a new deal where they're definitely going in video direction. They've been doing. Excuse me. And I think people need to give Bill Simmons, not that he needs more credit, but Bill Simmons he's literally the PodFather of sports. Like, I was legitimately, like, before podcasting became this thing, I remember listening to the BS Report. Literally going on ESPN.com, going under podcasts, and it would just be this underlying thing. And I would literally just play it straight from the website and app. That's when I first, and this was like 2014, 15 is when I was introduced to this type of stuff. It wasn't even until a couple years later I got Spotify or whatever. But I think that showed a better measurement of what people actually enjoy listening to compared to now. Because it wasn't algorithm based. You had to seek out what you wanted to listen to. Nowadays, you're being pushed shit in your algorithm on YouTube, which is a good thing because you can be introduced to shit that you never would look for. At the same time, your interests are adjusted to what the algorithm has fed you without even realizing it. And it's very hard on these directories to like sometimes search what you're looking for. And you could be pushed just what these podcast directories want to push to you. Because a lot of the rankings and stuff is not really all that accurate. Like, I've seen where Spotify has pushed podcasts that doesn't have many listeners or viewers. But because it has been identified as something people may want to listen to for X, Y, and Z, it gets pushed in the algorithm, and then you listen to it and you're like, who the fuck would push this shit on me? They push what they want to, like, I would say the one fault, like, I think over time, I think what Spotify and them should do is kind of go the YouTube route to push. Like, if you really want people to listen to different podcasts and push it out, you got to actually, like, create it like a YouTube algorithm in a way. And I think the YouTube algorithm is very flawed. I don't love it. You kind of have to play a game, but at the same time, like, podcasts are always going to be dominated by the heavy top ones until there's algorithm created by it. So, because I've been pushed some bullshit on my Spotify. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to put them on blast or nothing. But it will be podcasts with less listeners than me and viewers. And I've done the research on that. Like, you're pushing this, but this other podcast I listen to that gets consistent 100,000 listens, downloads, and shit like that I know gets play. You won't push this shit down to me, but I know I like this shit, and you know I don't like this other shit. To me, I don't know. But yeah, Bill Simmons. Those were the days where, like, you legitimately, I think it created more of, you cared more about scheduling. You cared more about waiting for the next thing. Because one, it wasn't, podcasts weren't just this thing that were just given to people. You know, it wasn't this thing that we feel entitled to. Like, we felt rewarded when we got an episode. Nowadays, we felt entitled. Back in the day, we felt rewarded. Because it wasn't just this, like, everyone has a show. It wasn't just this, what's being pushed to be like, you had to really create a real fan base. Like, Bill Simmons can not record an episode for 3 months. And post an episode, and he's going to have his core fan base there. A lot of these people, man, if they stop posting for 2 months, you're going to forget about them. Because you've never actually had to search out for their episodes. And because there's so many other shows, you can have other shows fill out the time. But there are a lot of high quality podcasts now. There's a lot of low quality too. And with the high quality ones, because even these top dogs like JRE and Bill Simmons and stuff like that in their field, they still feel the need to post more than ever. And they're the top of their field because they know the competition is, once you're out of people's minds, people will forget about you pretty quick. So, but yeah, with that being said, he's signed another big deal. And The Ringer is one of the most underrated podcast networks. And they have had some weird shit with unions. They're kind of like the Amazon of podcasting. They're like unions. Who's talking about that around here? And look, I didn't work there. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a BS fan. Like the Ringer union thing, like looking into it just a little bit, not too much. It does seem like a lot of people that were whiny because they didn't get put on. And there was a lot of things, he promoted his nephew and this and that. I wasn't promoted because I was mixed. And then, like some of these people that are on the shows, they appeared on the Bill Simmons podcast or other podcasts, and you're like, no, the reason why you weren't continuously pushed is because honestly, I don't think many people enjoyed you that much. Not that they were bad, but like, I think they were, when they started bringing in more talent, like when Ryan Russillo came over, when Jason Tinsdall, when Ryan Russillo, now Todd McShay, for one, when they brought, like Kevin Clark was there for a while. Like, they had a lot of, like, quality. Like, Sean Fennessy does a lot of the film and TV. Chris Ryan does a lot of film, TV, sports, kind of like all of it. Pop culture. Like, they had most of the slots filled. And if you didn't really stand out in a field, then it was kind of hard to continuously push you because they already had the staples, and then they brought in more talent, and that's what it does. People think because they're part of the startup, right? But once you get big enough and you start getting bigger, you want to expand, you start bringing in more talent from the outside that you know can hold their own without any promotion or too much promotion. And because they're the talent, they're going to build their fan base. And they look at you and they're like, if we didn't have my name attached to this video with you, how many people would watch or not watch? And, you know, people don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable. But if you're not willing to individually hold an audience, then you're expendable. That's the nature of the game. And I think sometimes people get into this art stuff. People get into creative spaces. And they think just because they have creative juice or outlet, that they're entitled to a lot of things. This isn't me being like pro Bezos or Bill Simmons. I'm not against unions or nothing. I don't. But at the same time, it's like, just because you get let go or fired from a job is not because you were not put on. Maybe it's like there was a cap to what you brought. It's a viewer listener based business. If we gave you your own show, which they did to some, would you be able to build a strong fan base with it? And for a lot of them, no. But then you get let go, and then it's like this whole, now they want to bring race and all this stuff. And there's a time and place where that exists. But one thing in this business that will speak is the numbers. It does not matter what race or anything, nationality, sexuality. If you can't bring in listeners, viewers, or it's limited in how much you could bring on your own, then it's going to be very hard for you. This is coming from someone with not many listeners or viewers. But that's the cold truth about it. So either build something yourself where you had the platform of the Ringer, you couldn't do it. Well, prove that you could do it on your own. I'm not saying you can't. And nepotism. He gave his daughter shine and gave her a podcast and stuff. It's like, yeah, because he can. And I'll be honest, I've listened to some she's on. It's a cute dynamic and it's weird. All these people complain about nepotism and stuff like that, but then what do they want to do? They want to have their own, they want their own business and then put their people on, whether that's friends, family. They want to do that too. Like, there's always going to be that. I'm not saying that it's right, but if they bring in viewers and listeners, then it works. Like his cousin Kyle, a producer, our nephew Kyle, he's actually a really good addition. He contributes on the Russillo show. Like a pretty big staple. The mailbag, the Q&As and stuff. Him, Cerruti, and Ryan Russillo, they fill a gap. And it works. It's fun. It's entertaining. You complain because you're on a show and it doesn't get the views or the listens. You're on the same channel. You're on the same network. The people have spoken for what they want. I think that probably contributed more to that. But, it's not to shit on anyone. Like, I'm not in a position to sit here and talk about, stuff like that. But I think there's an uncomfortable reality. It's not promoting nepotism, but he has nepotism, but then therefore LeBron and his son, and people are critical about that. But, honestly, if they were in a similar situation, you would probably try to do the same thing. Like, I personally don't see... people always want to say it's about who you know and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it does sometimes matter. And you know what? I understand that who you know matters in this world, but at the same time, I will never use that as an excuse for getting or not getting something I want. So if that's going to be an underlying factor for you to make excuses about something, then you're honestly kind of weak-minded and you're full of excuses, because there's always an alternative. You can just create the thing yourself and prove that you don't need nepotism getting in the way of what you want. That's just my can of beans spilling out of my butthole.